A very good morning. We are back again with another edition of Breakfast News. Over the next 60 minutes, this is your one-stop show for all that matters from the field of politics, business, sports and entertainment, not only in India, but over the world. So we're going to get started and take a look at all the important developments that took place over the night and the day ahead. And we'll cut all the noise, bring news as it happens here in the next 1 hour. Well, I'm Anil Thomas. With me, my co-anchor to take you through the morning is Preeti. Preeti, good morning.
Thank you, Anil. Good morning. I'm good, and we hope the same for our viewers as well. It's a packed 1 hour ahead, as my colleague put forth. Yes, we'll get you everything that you're making it to the headlines, national and international updates. We'll get you sports updates, updates from the world of business. We'll also get you a web review. So it is indeed a packed 60 minutes ahead. Stay with us. First, we get you the headlines.
Disengagement along LAC at both banks of Pangong Tso begins in full earnest. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh tells Parliament not an inch of land has been lost to China. Defence Minister says China to move back to Finger 8 moratorium on patrolling in some areas for the time being.
Number of deceased increased to 36 in Uttarakhand disaster, 169 still missing. Rescue operations continue on war footing in Tapawan tunnel after water level recedes, while efforts are on to connect Raini village with makeshift bridge.
India becomes the fastest country in the world to administer COVID-19 vaccines. Over 74 lakh people vaccinated till yesterday. WHO's country representative to India lauds India's vaccination campaign as very successful.
Trump impeachment trial continues in U.S. Senate. House impeachment managers argue Trump's rhetoric incited Capitol riot. Graphic footage of the attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6th released as evidence. Video shows Mitt Romney, former Vice President Mike Pence fleeing the Capitol under attack.
Protesters gather outside Chinese embassy in Yangon, demands no Chinese support to military. People from all walks of life join protest in Myanmar, demanding the release of Aung San Suu Kyi. US President Joe Biden signs executive order imposing new sanctions against the military government. Britain also mulls stronger sanctions.
Bayern Munich lifts FIFA Club World Cup, beating Mexico's club Tigres 1-0 in the finals. This becomes Bayern's 6th title win within 9 months.
Well, those were the headlines at the top of this hour. Now for the stories in detail, starting first up with the India-China standoff.
Yes, in a major development, India and China have reached an agreement on disengagement at Pangong Tso in Ladakh. Now, on Thursday, the Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh gave details of a breakthrough after a protracted standoff and several rounds of talks between military commanders and diplomats of both the sides. Speaking on the disengagement, Raksha Mantri attributed this breakthrough to sustained talks with China, leading to agreement on disengagement on the north and south banks of Pangong Lake. Now, this further means that India and China will remove forward deployments in a phased, coordinated manner. We get to more.
बातचीत के लिए हमारी स्ट्रेटजी तथा अप्रोच माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के इस दिशा निर्देश पर आधारित है कि हम अपनी 1 इंच जमीन भी किसी और को नहीं लेने देंगे। हमारे दृढ़ संकल्प का ही यह फल है कि हम समझौते की स्थिति पर पहुंच गए।
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh stating in Parliament on Thursday that an agreement has been reached with the Chinese side for disengagement in the Pangong Lake area. Speaking in the Rajya Sabha in the first half of the day, he shared a detailed account of what has been achieved.
पैंगोंग लेक एरिया में चीन के साथ डिसएंगेजमेंट का जो समझौता हुआ है, उसके अनुसार दोनों पक्ष फॉरवर्ड डिप्लॉयमेंट को फेज्ड, कोऑर्डिनेटेड एंड वेरीफाइड मैनर में हटाएंगे। चीन अपनी सेना की टुकड़ियों को नॉर्थ बैंक में फिंगर 8 के पूरब की दिशा की तरफ रखेगा और इसी तरह भारत भी अपनी सेना की टुकड़ियों को फिंगर 3 के पास अपने परमानेंट बेस धन सिंह थापा पोस्ट पर रखेगा। इसी तरह की कार्रवाई साउथ बैंक एरिया में भी दोनों पक्षों द्वारा की जाएगी।
These are mutual and reciprocal steps, and any structures that had been built by both sides since April of 2020 in both North and South Bank area will be removed. It has also been agreed to have a temporary moratorium on military activities by both sides in the North Bank, including patrolling to the traditional areas. Patrolling will be resumed only when both sides reach an agreement in diplomatic and military talks that would be held subsequently.
मेरी अभी तक की जानकारी के अनुसार जो समझौता हुआ है उसका क्रियान्वयन अभी तक, मैं फिर से दोहरा, अभी तक ठीक तरीके से हो रहा है। अभी तक दोनों तरफ से सारी बख्तरबंद गाड़ियां अपने परमानेंट बेस पर वापस जा चुकी हैं, ये हमको जानकारी मिली।
Defense Minister Rajnath Singh said that diplomatic and military engagement with the Chinese side continued despite the actions by China. Talks are based on 3 key principles. Both sides should strictly respect and observe the LAC. Neither side should attempt to alter the status quo unilaterally, and all agreements and understandings between the two sides must be fully abided by in their entirety. Rajnath Singh assured Parliament that India has not conceded anything to China during talks at various levels. The meeting of senior commanders will be held within 48 hours after the complete disengagement in the Pangong Lake area to address and resolve all other remaining issues.
फ्रिक्शन क्षेत्रों में डिसएंगेजमेंट के लिए भारत का यह मत है कि 2020 की फॉरवर्ड डिप्लॉयमेंट जो एक दूसरे के बहुत नजदीक है वे दूर हो जाएं और दोनों सेनाएं वापस अपनी अपनी अस्थायी एवं मान्य चौकियों पर लौट जाएं। मैं सदन को यह भी जानकारी देना चाहता हूं कि अभी भी LAC पर डिप्लॉयमेंट तथा पेट्रोलिंग के बारे में कुछ आउटस्टैंडिंग इश्यूज बचे हैं। इन पर हमारा ध्यान आगे की बातचीत में रहेगा। दोनों पक्ष इस बात पर सहमत हैं कि बाइलेटरल एग्रीमेंट्स तथा प्रोटोकॉल के तहत पूर्ण डिसएंगेजमेंट जल्द से जल्द कर लिया जाए। यह सहमति बनी है।
Defense Minister hailed the bravery of the armed forces even in the face of harsh adverse climatic conditions. He said their grit and determination to safeguard India's borders is unwavering. Rajnath Singh recalled the sacrifices made by brave soldiers, describing them as the foundation of this disengagement at Pangong So Lake.
With this statement in both houses of the parliament, the defense minister has silenced the opposition that has been time and again cornering the government on the Chinese standoff in the eastern Ladakh region. With cameraman Smriti Ranjan Mahapatra in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristo, DD News.
All right, to get us more on that, our correspondent Nandita Dagar is joining us. Nandita, disengagement begins at the friction points. I would want you to first spell out the reasons which led to this, because we've seen the standoff continue after the skirmish at the LAC. But at the same time, what were exactly the factors that led to this day?
Yes, Preeti.
Yes, Nandita, am I audible to you?
Yes, you are audible. Yes, Preeti, as I was telling you, that this agreement has come after both the sides have had sustained dialogue, not just through military channels but also through diplomatic channels. As the defense minister was yesterday mentioning that the external affairs minister and himself and have spoken to their counterparts, the Chinese counterparts, and also 9 rounds of lieutenant general level talks have happened with the Chinese PLA army. So the agreement that has been reached is this. If I could explain in simple language to our viewers, that from finger 8 to finger 4, that is on Pangong So Lake, the north bank, the Chinese army would retreat to beyond finger 8, that is to the east of finger 8, a place known as Sirijap, which is their known camp in peacetime. And the Indian army would retreat to Dhansing Thapa post, which is west of finger 3. Now this is our known to them as well, known to us, known position. That, and of course there is a suspension on patrolling between finger 3 and finger 8. That means that till no agreement is reached on patrolling, this patrolling will stop and will come to a halt, it will cease.
Okay.
Thirdly, all the armaments that have been amassed by the two armies and the semi-permanent or permanent structures that have been built along the line of along the north and south banks of Pangong so will be removed as per this agreement.
Okay. Also, Nandita, spell out, now Pangong So is done. What is India going to raise in the next round of talks at the commander level?
Yes, that's a very good question, Anil. India has several things to. India will want the Depsang friction points in the Depsang Valley and Chumar and Demchok. These are again friction points that will be raised. As of now, what I have spoken to my army is to my sources in the army, they are telling us that they are not going to vacate Kailash ranges, as you would remember in the. As of now, they are not going to vacate the Kailash ranges. You would remember, Anil and Preeti, that on 29th, 30th of August, the Indian Army in a preemptive action had occupied these heights. When they had seen that the Chinese army was amassing troops and equipment for occupying these heights, transgressing and occupying. So therefore, our sources in the army are telling us that the Indian army is not going to vacate Kailash ranges. These heights such as Mukpari, Rizangla, etc. Till there is an agreement is reached on that as well. But as of now, as for your question, the next issue which will be handled in the core commander level talks, and of course the talks which are going to be held, as the Defence Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh told, 48 hours after the disengagement is completed, that issue would be Chumar and Demchok and Depsang.
Okay.
All right, Nandita, very quickly, I would want you to also, tell us how important is this development in the relationship between the two countries, given the times through which both the countries have passed in the in the last 1 year, and now we see this positive. Even both the sides have maintained that the relationship needs to continue, and also disengagement at the earliest has to be completed, and the bilateral agreements and the protocols have to be abided by completely and fully.
Yes, again, that's a brilliant question, Preeti. The bilateral relationship between India and China, these two superpowers and two major economies, global regional powers within Asia, the foundation of their relationship is dependent upon peace and tranquility upon the border, and this has been mentioned in various joint statements and agreements of various heads of states and prime ministers of both the countries, and various summits. This has been emphasized and it has been written in these joint statements, as the Defence Minister had told the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha yesterday. And in the last 9 months, when this standoff has ensued, and primarily after the bloody clash at Galwan Valley on 15th of June, this relationship had taken a nosedive and the relationship had hit a rock bottom. So it is incumbent for the relationship to be coming back to normal. It is incumbent that there is peace and tranquility on the border areas, and these three things that the three principles that the Defence Minister yesterday outlined, respecting the sanctity of the LAC, and of course not changing the status quo unilaterally, and third, abiding by the border agreements by the two sides. This is something that is key for the two countries to have relationships normal. Although I must warn you, Preeti, that the relationship would definitely not get back to the place it was when the Wuhan summit took place or the Mallapuram summit took place. But yes, it does. This is a positive development. We can hail it as a positive development. And yes.
Okay, Nandita, one quick word before I let you go. Now that the disengagement process is very clear, when do you see this? Is there a time frame that is being set for this particular disengagement process to be completed?
Yes. This is going to be a phased disengagement. My sources in the army have told me that this is going to be monitored very, very closely. It will be phased, and then every action will be verified verified and cross-checked between the two sides, and only then will the next step or disengagement take place. So therefore, it might take some time. It is not going to be an easy process. It's not going to be an early process, in the sense that it will not be finished in no time. It will take some time because it has to be credible and verifiable disengagement.
Okay.
As you know that we cannot trust the Chinese. The army says that they cannot trust the Chinese anymore.
Okay, we'll leave it there. India gets a good deal is all that I would say, but the challenge still remains, as Nandita put it. Thank you and appreciate you joining us this morning with those updates there on the disengagement process on which the Defence Minister spoke in the Parliament at length.
All
well,
right,
moving forward.
Let's get to other news. We'll talk about the Uttarakhand situation now.
Well, moving to that Uttarakhand story there, slow developments that are taking place. The rescue operations continuing on a war footing in Tapovan tunnel after the water level has receded. Search team is working round the clock to find the missing in a flooded Tapovan tunnel in Chamoli district in Uttarakhand. Rescuers raced to free around 35 Indian construction workers who were missing since the disaster happened. Number of deceased in the disaster is 36. 169 people are still missing. Efforts are on to connect Reni village with a makeshift bridge.
And today in Rajya Sabha, Union Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs Nirmala Sitharaman will make a statement showing the supplementary demands for grants 2020-21 and also give a reply to the discussion on the Union budget. Union Minister for Health and Family Welfare Dr. Harshvardhan will make a statement regarding status of implementation of recommendations contained in the 110th and 121st reports of the Department-related Parliamentary Standing Committee on Health and Family Welfare on the functioning of Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. Union Minister for Textiles and Women and Child Development, Smriti Irani, will lay on the table a copy of an MOU signed between Ministry of Textiles and Cotton Corporation of India for 2020-21.
Well, Lok Sabha will reconvene today at 4 p.m. The two major bills that will be tabled for consideration and passing include the Arbitration and Conciliation Amendment Bill 2021. Union Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad will move the bill further to amend the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. Another important bill, Major Port Authorities Bill 2020, will be tabled for consideration and passage. The Union Minister for Ports, Shipping and Waterways, Mansukh Mandavia, will move amendments made by Rajya Sabha in the bill to provide for regulation, operation and planning of major ports in India and to vest the administration, control and management of such ports upon the boards of major port authorities and for matters connected therewith.
And joining us to get us more on that is our correspondent Vishal Baristow. Vishal, we've given a broad outline of the business that has to be transacted in both the Houses of Parliament today. You let us know more in common layman's terms. Explain to our viewers, what is to be taken up in Parliament today.
Well, a very good morning to you, Preeti, and my friend Anil Thomas. After a detailed discussion with Nandita, which I was also enjoying, not much happening in the Parliament, both houses, because we have had two hectic days in the Parliament, though the houses were extended. The lower house was extended till midnight yesterday. Today, Nirmala Sitharaman would be making a statement, as we all know, and also the departments related parliamentary standing committees on defense, rural development, social justice and empowerment would be tabling their reports. Also, the Committee on Empowerment of Women will also table its report in the upper house. And in the lower house, as Anil informed, the Union Minister would be moving the Bill of Arbitration and Conciliation 1996 Act for further amendments, consideration and passing. And also, the opposition headed by the leader Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary would move a statutory resolution to oppose the Arbitration and Conciliation Ordinance 2020. So let's see that today also we get to have more action in the lower house, because yesterday after the statements of Rahul Gandhi, which was termed as unparliamentary by the speaker, the way he stood up and he went on his own without seeking permission from the Speaker of the House. There was a lot of counter attack by the opposition, and Smriti Irani, who also represents the constituency Amethi, which she won from Rahul Gandhi in the last elections, and she came out all guns blazing against Rahul Gandhi, accusing him that he had done nothing in his constituency. There was not even an office of the DM constructed by Rahul Gandhi. There was no hospital, and even the land that was taken for the construction of a hospital was later converted to a guest house for the Gandhi family. This was the accusation by Union Minister Smriti Irani. She was stopped time again by the opposition, but she said that as a minister, I have all rights to intervene on what Rahul Gandhi said, and also I am also the member of parliament from Amethi. So this is what we saw yesterday, and it was very interesting to note how the Treasury bench is reacted to all the accusation of Rahul Gandhi.
Okay, also today, today is the penultimate day of the first session of that, first part of the parliament, especially when it comes to the budget session, and the finance minister is expected to speak, especially on the union budget when it is going to be deliberated upon. What could be the finer points that could be up for discussion, especially, since you are in parliament and we've been talking to various political parties there?
Well, Anil, definitely the finance minister would like to rather counter all the accusation of the opposition, because the government has been insisting that this is the Atmanirbhar budget for the people, by the people, of the people. Okay. And opposition has been accusing that during the pandemic, after the post-pandemic, or rather the pandemic is still there, it has not gone, but at the receding end, but still the government should have done more for the masses, and the government, the finance minister would come out with all the explanations, because she has been saying how the government help people, especially providing ration to the poor, and during the lockdown, and that was pan country. So the finance minister would tell us more on the issue. She has also presented the budget, we all know, but then she would also counter the accusations of the opposition party, and also highlight as to how this budget will serve for achieving the goals of a new India and self-reliant India. Anil?
Okay, we'll leave it there. You've got a busy day ahead. Take good care of yourself. We'll come back to you across the day for more updates on Parliament there. Thank you once again for joining us this morning.
All right, let's get to other news now. With yet another significant development, India has become the fastest country in the world to achieve over 70 lakh vaccinations against COVID-19. Now, India has accomplished this feat in only 26 days, while it took 27 days for the US and 48 days for the United Kingdom to reach the same figures. $74.3 lakh healthcare workers and frontline workers have been vaccinated for COVID-19 across the country. 4,13,752 beneficiaries were vaccinated till 7 p.m. yesterday. As per the latest COVID data released by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, India's active cases per million population amongst the world is the lowest. Now, 2,923 new confirmed cases were recorded in the last 24 hours. 11,764 new recoveries were registered in the same period. India's national recovery rate is 97.26%, which continues to be one of the highest globally. The total recovered cases are 10 crore 57 lakh. I beg your pardon, that's 1 crore 5,73,372, and the gap between the active cases and recovered cases is continuously increasing, and it also stands at 1 crore 4,30,810.
Well, WHO's Indian representative Rodrigo Frin on Thursday said that India's coronavirus vaccination rate is the fastest in the world. He lauded India's efforts to contain the spread of coronavirus disease, saying that the number of infections in the country has been on the decline.
Considering the magnitude of the population, 1.3 billion, 37 states and union territories, 770 districts, just multiply what I said in terms of key public health actions into that. And so that is something the government of India has to be very, very proud of. And bringing that diligence, discipline, and vigor into the response to a vaccination campaign. So that's another area of response. And we see that it's been so successful, around 6 million vaccinated in 22 days. It's the fastest as we see the rates of vaccination happening.
The Election Commission team, led by Chief Election Commissioner Sunil Arora, reached Pondicherry last evening on a two-day visit to review the preparedness for the upcoming polls in the Union Territory. They were received by Pondicherry Chief Electoral Officer Shurbir Singh and District Electoral Officer Purva Garg. They are currently meeting with political party representatives at a private hotel to hear their views regarding the conduct of the upcoming polls. This was followed by a meeting with district election officials and police superintendents later in the night.
Meanwhile, replying to the concern of Chhattisgarh Health Minister over the COVID-19 vaccine, the Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan on Thursday said both the COVID-19 vaccines, Covaxin and Covishield, are safe and immunogenic. Union Health Minister said this in reply to Chhattisgarh's request to halt the supply of Covaxin, citing concerns about incomplete phase 3 trials. The minister cleared that expiry date is mentioned on the dose, and the concern regarding the unavailability of expiry date on Covaxin vial is also completely unfounded. On Thursday, Chhattisgarh Health Minister T.S. Singhdev wrote to the Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan expressing his concern about the absence of expiry date on the vials of the vaccine. DO also requested Dr. Harshvardhan to stop sending Bharat Biotech's Covaxin until the phase 3 clinical trial results are completed.
The Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways is organising the Maritime India Summit 2021 from 2nd March till 4th of March. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the summit on 2nd March. As many as 56 maritime nations except China have been invited to participate in the summit through Indian missions in those countries. Briefing media in New Delhi, Union Minister for Ports, Shipping and Waterways Mansukh Mandavia said that around 20,000 delegates will participate in the event and more than 400 projects will be showcased in the second edition of the summit.
इंडिया मैरीटाइम समिट 2 मार्च टू 4 मार्च के बीच में आयोजित हो रही है और देश के प्रधानमंत्री आदरणीय मोदी जी समिट को इनॉग्रेट करेंगे। 20,000 कुल मिला के डेलीगेट्स उसमें पार्टिसिपेंट करेंगे। 24 कंट्रीज पार्टनर कंट्री के रूप में हमारे साथ काम करेंगे और 400 जैसे प्रोजेक्ट है, ये सब प्रोजेक्ट देखेंगे, उसके संदर्भ में बातचीत करेंगे, उसके संदर्भ में अपनी अपॉर्चुनिटी देखेंगे। मैं मानता हूँ कि मैरीटाइम समिट देश के मैरीटाइम सेक्टर में बहुत महत्वपूर्ण साबित होगी।
Well, meet Dhruv Space, a startup company which has literally taken Prime Minister Modi's Make in India mantra and is now planning to go global with its product. The company also went on to make significant strides in building products for space usage.
India's liberalization in the space sector has turned out to be a big hit with the entrepreneurs in this sector, leading to an influx of foreign and homegrown startups vying for a slice of the pie of the billion-dollar space industry. From the fabled city of Hyderabad comes India's best space startup, who are leading a silent revolution in India's space sector. Meet Dhruv Space. One of the first private space technology company in the country. started in 2012, it found it hard to sustain operations without any external funding in its initial days.
Raising capital has not been easy. Initially, we did pull in close to 30 lakhs just to get things rolling. And we've raised 4.5 crores at 20 crore pre-money valuation.
In 2018, became the first company without any European co-founders to be accepted by a European Space Agency business incubator. 4 founders headed by CEO Sanjay, Chaitanya Dora, Abhay and Krishna Teja came on board for its second stint, and the rest is history.
The idea behind this is that these bus systems can be integrated with a payload from any of our customers and then launched into orbit. So in the space segment, we have these bus structures that are modular and configurable, ranging all the way from 0.5U to up to 30 centimeter cube platforms.
Dhruva is also actively engaging with ISRO for launching satellites on its launch vehicle. The firm is now planning to build a fleet of satellites and a distributed network of ground stations, which are used to communicate with satellites that are in the orbit.
I mean, the policies are shaping up. We are going in the right direction. There is still a lot more work to be done, both by the industry as well as the government, as well as ISRO and the related parties. But eventually, it will open up doors for a lot of people once the whole thing is set up.
The company has taken forward Prime Minister Modi's Make in India, Make for the World mantra, and is now planning to go global with its product.
There's been a lot of initiatives from ISRO, NSIL, Antrix and InSpace now to provide us enough support for the private industries. The ecosystem was really well established, and now I think we are in the right time where we can use the ecosystem as well as the policies which will help us to build stuff in India and then deploy all over the world.
Besides US, India is one of the most attractive destinations to pursue a career in the new space sector, given the availability of high-quality university programs along with a robust business ecosystem.
Craig Technologies' partnership with Dhruva has been nothing short of exceptional. Our combined expertise has allowed us to provide top-tier services throughout the space industry, and Dhruva has provided a vital role in our international developments, and we look forward to our continued partnership.
The story of Dhruva showcases India's growing prowess in the new space age, where it has positioned itself to be a global giant in the space sector in coming years. Tapush Bhattacharya's report.
After those national headlines, we'll turn focus on to international updates now in our segment Across the Globe. Trump impeachment trial continues in the U.S. Senate. House impeachment managers argue Trump's rhetoric incited Capitol riot. Graphic footage of the attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6th released as evidence. Video shows Mitt Romney, former Vice President Mike Pence, fleeing as Capitol is under attack. Take a look.
The impeachment trial gathered steam on Wednesday, with Democratic lawmakers laying out their evidence that former President Donald Trump incited an insurrection by exhorting thousands of supporters to march on the Capitol last month. The impeachment managers used footage of the events of January 6, linking them to speeches of Trump to bolster their case. House managers prosecuting the case also said Trump had planted the seeds for the riot by encouraging violence and making false claims the election was stolen long before January 6.
You've seen all the evidence so far, and this is clear. On January 6th, President Trump left everyone in this Capitol for dead.
What's also clear is what Donald Trump, our commander-in-chief, did in those initial hours to protect us. Nothing. Not a thing. He could have commanded them to leave, but he didn't. The first critical hour and a half of this bloody attack, Donald Trump tweeted his rally speech and did nothing else.
If anyone ever had a doubt as to his focus that day, it was not to defend us, it was not to console us, it was to praise and sympathize and commiserate with the rampaging mob. It was to continue to act as inciter-in-chief, not commander-in-chief. When he incited insurrection on January 6th, he broke that oath. He violated that duty, and that's why we're here today.
Democrats aimed to show how Donald Trump laid the groundwork for the deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol by falsely claiming the election was stolen. Screenshots from pro-Trump websites were shown as evidence that radicals in his support base were emboldened by his rhetoric to pre-plan the attack. They stated that Trump made multiple false assertions that he lost the election because of widespread fraud. Recalling the attack tearfully, Pennsylvania Congresswoman Madeleine Dean referred to Trump as a desperate president.
At 2:30, I heard that terrifying banging on House chamber doors. For the first time in more than 200 years, the seat of our government was ransacked on our watch.
Trump's defense argued that the trial is politically motivated and that free speech is protected by the First Amendment. Fast-tracking the impeachment, party leaders have agreed to move on a tight schedule that could lead to a vote on conviction or acquittal by early next week. Trump is the first US president to be impeached twice after leaving office. He's just the third president in US history to be impeached. DD India.
Well, moving from the US Senate to Myanmar, where a large gathering of people demonstrated in front of the Chinese embassy in Yangon on Thursday, asking it not to assist the army in its efforts to control the social media and mount surveillance on the protesters. Protests have grown daily in front of the Chinese embassy as social media in Myanmar published a list of cargo flights arriving in Yangon, allegedly with IT experts to help the military government build a firewall. Even as the protest and civil disobedience movement continue to grow, Army Chief General Min Aung Hlaing asked those who are away from their duties to return to their duties immediately. The highest decision-making body of the military government's State Administration Council warned of strong legal action against people who pressurize government servants to take part in protests. While protests against the military government continued, the major ethnic armed organizations have also joined the protest. A large protest was held by the people of Shan in the Shan state on Thursday over the traditional fishing boats on the LAC. The majority Christian ethnic Karen marked their national day in the main city of Yangon and elsewhere with mass protests against the army takeover.
US President Joe Biden has signed an executive order imposing sanctions on the leaders of the military coup in Myanmar. Biden said that his administration was taking steps to prevent Myanmar's generals from having access to $1 billion of government funds held in the US. Biden said that he has approved a new executive order enabling the US to immediately sanction the military leaders who directed the coup, their business interests, as well as close family members.
Well, China has barred airing of BBC World News in China from Friday. This development comes a week after Britain's media regulator revoked China's Chinese state television's license to broadcast in United Kingdom. China's National Radio and Television Administration said that the channel had seriously violated regulations harming the country's national interest and undermining national unity. The BBC said it was disappointed by the decision. In a statement issued by the BBC, and I quote, this is what they said: "We are disappointed that the Chinese authority have decided to take this course of action. The BBC is the world's most trusted international news broadcaster and reports on stories from around the world fairly, impartially, and without fear or favor." British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab called the move an unacceptable curtailing of media freedom. British Foreign Secretary tweeted, and I quote, "China's decision to ban BBC World News in mainland China is an unacceptable curtailing of media freedom. China has some of the most severe restrictions on media and internet freedoms across the globe, and this latest step will only damage China's reputation in the eyes of the world."
Condemning the PRC's decision to ban BBC World News, US State Department spokesman Ned Price said that PRC maintains one of the most controlled, most oppressive, least free information spaces in the world. It's troubling that as PRC restricts outlets and platforms from operating freely in China, Beijing's leaders use free and open media environments overseas to promote misinformation.
We absolutely condemn the PRC's decision to ban BBC World News. The PRC maintains one of the most controlled, most oppressive, least free information spaces in the world. It's troubling that as the PRC restricts outlets and platforms from operating freely in China, Beijing's leaders use free and open media environments overseas to promote misinformation.
Well, Colombia's Defense Minister Diego Molano on Thursday said fighting drug trafficking and dismantling the armed groups are the top challenges for the country's military this year. He added that Colombia could restart the aerial fumigation of cocoa, the base ingredient in cocaine, with herbicide glyphosate as early as next month.
People across Beijing celebrated Lunar New Year's Eve away from many of their loved ones on Thursday. Travel warnings amidst pandemic have deterred many from making their traditional trip back to their hometowns. The Lunar New Year, which begins today, is ordinarily the world's biggest annual migration when hundreds of millions of China's migrant workers return to hometowns.
Well, a quick update on COVID-19 from across the world on how the numbers are. The tally of COVID-19 cases worldwide has crossed 10 crores 82 lakhs 80,422, while the total recoveries stand at 8 crore 3 lakh 15,140. COVID-19 virus has claimed over 23 lakh 77,000 lives worldwide, and United States continues to be the worst affected from COVID-19 in terms of fatalities and infections. In terms of infections, 2 crores 80 lakhs 2,000 cases being registered. United States has also lost 4 lakh 86,000 lives due to COVID-19.
US President Joe Biden on Thursday announced the purchase of 200 million doses of Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. The US President has also expedited the shipment of another 100 million in the coming months.
Well, in the United States, workers are setting up new vaccination centers in the heartland of two urban California communities, especially hard hit by COVID-19. The two sites at the Oakland Coliseum in Oakland and the California State University campus in East Los Angeles are due to open on Feb 16th. The two sites will be capable of administering 6,000 shots per day each.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said on Thursday that the country is securing millions of doses of Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer vaccines to fight COVID-19. South Africa has been hit hard by a second wave of COVID-19 after the discovery of a new variant in the Eastern Cape.
Well, French Health Minister Oliver Véran on Thursday said that the British variant of the COVID-19 virus now accounts for a quarter of all new infections in the country. He added that the South African and Brazilian variants are responsible for 4 to 5% of all new cases.
Florida International University has deployed a dog to make sure that spaces are free of COVID-19 and safe for students. The dog will carry out its job by sniffing out spaces.
Well, animals once again coming to the service of humanity there in a big way.
Yes, interesting there. Up next, we'll get you the web review wherein a colleague of ours joins us every morning to let us know what all has been put forth in various portals of social media.
Well, we've got Amritpal standing by. Amritpal, good morning. What do we have for our audience this morning from the newspaper websites and also social media?
Good morning, Anil and Priti. Apart from what you've already put out in your show, I've chosen to put out the Times of India. It's carried the story says, begin new session from April 1st, CBSE to schools. Now, the CBSE has recommended to the schools that they should begin their sessions from April 1st. But owing to the approval, subject to the approval of the state governments where the schools are based, the story says the CBSE has recommended the new academic session begin from April 1st, but to the extent feasible, subject to the instructions of respective state governments, the board has directed the schools to identify and resolve the learning gaps and then conduct the class 9th and 11th examinations following COVID safety protocols, because that is a major concern for students, for parents who are sending their wards to school, that once schools open and the children are still not vaccinated, how do they go about it? So CBSE has a direction for them. Remember, the schools had shut last March when the pandemic struck, and some schools in some states reopened, but partially in October. Slowly schools are reopening, but this is the CBSE's directive. The other big story is again from the Times of India. It says, first in 50 years, ISRO opens its satellite center to private firms. Now, India's space agency ISRO has decided to open its facilities to private sector with 2 satellites from companies and 1 from the academia being tested at the UR Rao Satellite Center in Bengaluru. Over the next few months, the 2 private firms will test their engines at the Sriharikota Spaceport and at Thiruvananthapuram Rocket Center. And ISRO will soon also share its satellite images to a private firm that offers mapping services. Well, another story from the world of business. It's about the Indian app, which is Koo, which is being seen as the Indian answer to Twitter. Some ministers, including Piyush Goyal and government departments, Ravi Shankar Prasad, etc., have joined, have registered themselves on Koo platform. The story says India-made Koo app now has over 3 million users. As the spat between the government and Twitter goes on, the social network platform has seen the Indian social network platform Koo has seen a massive surge in the number of users in the last few weeks that it has been here. Their co-founder said, and I quote him, we had 2 million users with about 1.5 million active users. Now we've crossed the 3 million mark. This is the co-founder Mayank with Vatka being quoted by the paper, and the co-founder Aparmava Krishna took to Twitter to highlight the rising popularity of the platform. It's interesting that the co-founder of Koo takes to Twitter to talk about his platform's rising popularity. He wrote, our systems are facing more load than ever. Thank you for placing your trust in us. Our team is working on overdrive to fix it. The other story that's made it to the papers this morning comes from the world of business. It's printed by Mint. It says India Inc. may offer 6.4% hike on average, and the top 4 performers to get over 20% in 2021. India Inc. is likely to increase, the paper says 6.4, average increase of 6.4, and top performers will be receiving about 20.6% increment. This is Willis and Towers Watson, which is a consultancy firm which has put out its projections yesterday. And this will be more than the 5.9% average salary offered in 2020 by Indian companies. The high-tech, the sectors would be technology, pharmaceuticals, consumer products, retail. They will give a median salary increase of around 8%, which is more than the general industry projection. Financial services and manufacturing sector projects a 7% increase this year, while the BPO sector could offer 6% increase in salaries. The energy sector is expected to be the lowest, to give the lowest increase, which according to the survey is, or the projection, is about 4.6%. And according to the survey, while the business environment and the sentiment has improved, but it may not translate into hiring more people. So that's what the consultancy firm's survey and projection says. The other story I've chosen from the Hindustan Times. It's about the impeachment of Donald Trump. It says chilling video clips of Capitol siege aired at Trump's impeachment trial. Yesterday, new video footage was presented in the House by the House impeachment managers, which showed chilling footage or detail on as to how close the rioters had come on January 6th to the lawmakers inside the US Capitol or their parliament. The video and audio clips showed police officers begging for help as they were overwhelmed by the surge by violent rioters. The rioters were seen roaming around in the hallways of the Capitol building, looking for top officials. They were calling out for former Vice President Mike Pence and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, saying, "Nancy, where are you, Nancy?" This is what the papers printed. The Rep Eric Slevil, Representative Eric Slevil was heard telling the impeachment, the lawmakers, you were just 58 steps away from the rioters. So, rioters were seen moving around. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, a Democrat, was seen taking up and down the ramp by his security detail because rioters were running after him. So the video footage put out really was quite chilling of the January 6th incident.
All right, Amrit.
That's what's made it to the web portals and newspapers this morning. Anil?
Okay, thank you, Amritpal, and appreciate you joining us this morning, getting us those updates there from the newspaper websites and also social media.
All right, up next, we'll change track to sports track now.
Well, first up, football, and Bayern Munich beat Mexico's Tigers 1-0 on Thursday night thanks to Benjamin Pavard's winner on the hour to win the Club World Cup title and earn their 6th trophy in less than 9 months. Pavard scored in the 59th minute following a video replay review and in front of around 12,000 spectators allowed into that Education City Stadium. Tiger keeper Noel Guzman had stopped a Robert Lewandowski header. The Germans, who also twice hit the woodwork, won all domestic and European titles they competed for in 2020 and are the first team to match Barcelona's 6 titles from 2009. It is also Bayern coach Hansi Flick's 6th trophy since he took over in November 2019.
Thomas Tuchel says Chelsea were not at their best against Barnsley after a narrow 1-0 win against the Championship side in the FA Cup 5th round, but it was enough to get them over the line. Tammy Abraham's goal from close range in the 64th minute was enough for the Blues to progress into the quarterfinals of the Cup. They will now face Sheffield United at Stamford Bridge in the next round, but it was a night that won't be looked back at with great fondness. Chelsea were not pleasing on the eye, but they scrapped their way through the tie to extend their unbeaten start under Tuchel.
Well, Southampton, meanwhile, beat Wolves 2-0 to seal their berth in the last 8 of the FA Cup. Fral Hasenhutti's men finally returned to winning ways as Danny Ings and Stuart Armstrong sealed the progress to the FA Cup quarterfinals. After a cagey start at Molineux, Southampton surged to a 2-goal victory. Ralph Hasenhüttl's side has been on a miserable run of consecutive defeats. Goals from Danny Ings and Stuart Armstrong securing a quarterfinal place there for Southampton. VAR, meanwhile, once again intervened in the final moments to deny Saints a penalty and possibly a 3rd goal for the night.
Let's get you day 5 action at the Australian Open in women's singles. Aryna Sabalenka blitzed her way into the last 16 of the Australian Open after producing an outstanding 6-3, 6-1 win in 1 hour over unseeded American Anne Lee at Rod Laver Arena. In form, Sabalenka was on a 15-match winning streak with title runs at Ostrava, Linz and Abu Dhabi, and she followed it up by reaching the last 16 stage for the first time in her career. Czech Marketa Vondrousova is also through to the Australian Open 4th round after making short work of her opponent in Friday's early action. Vondrousova had a 6-2, 6-4 victory over Romanian Sorena Sărsti to seal her berth in the pre-quarterfinals. Vondrousova's Vondrasova's best performance at the majors came at 2019 French Open when she was beaten in the final by Australia's Ash Barty. She had never previously made it past the second round in Melbourne. And up next, very quickly, we get you the weather report. Dense to very dense fog in isolated pockets is likely over Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh and Delhi, East Uttar Pradesh and Northwest Rajasthan on 13th of February, and dense fog in isolated pockets is also likely over the same areas on 14th February as well. Dense fog over isolated pockets over Bihar is to be seen in the morning hours on 13th of February. Up next, we take a quick look at temperatures across major cities of the country.
Well, we are at the fag end of this edition of Breakfast News, but remember, it's a Friday morning and Friday sees more smiles than any other day of the week. And Preeti is smiling ear to ear because she's got a long extended weekend where she's going to have a wonderful time with her family.
And we hope the same with you as well.
Well, that's exactly what we all are expecting this weekend to be. But remember, do not drop your guard. We've got a campaign running for you where we're asking you to mask up. You know, wear your mask as you step out of your house. Remember, this is a season of festivities, so do not forget to drop your guard as you step out of the house. Always get your mask on. While we are stepping out of the studios, we are going to get our mask on, and we urge each and every one of you, if you care for your loved ones, please do not forget to wear your mask.
Added to that, we'll get you another quick reminder. We are running this special show every day from 10 a.m. till 11 a.m. in the morning, News on the Hour, wherein we make sure that you keep yourselves abreast with all the aspects of every news item, in fact, that is making it to the headlines every morning. So do catch up, News on the Hour at 10 a.m. And also, when we close this bulletin, we every day get you some visuals which have that feel-good factor, which I'm sure stays on with you throughout the day. And today we get you these beautiful images and beautiful songs of Pran, depicting his journey and depicting his endeavors in Bollywood. And today is his birth anniversary. Take a look. Have a good day ahead. Bye-bye.
Good weekend ahead.
Good. Yes.
मुझसे नजरें मिलाने की जुर्रत ना कर, मुझसे नजरें मिलाने की जुर्रत ना कर, ये नशा है जवानी का उतर जाएगा, मुझसे नजरें